Hey guys, Jason here for TheChartGuys, taking a look at gold today. Yesterday we were all about that inside bar and we had a really early break of it. But you know what? It kind of worked out. We'll take a look at what happened. Hourly time frame was going to be an important thing for us, and we're going to take a look at the 5 minute, check out that price action and break it up into something that we can understand and digest. But daily time frame, bulls are still in control. We are sitting higher highs and higher lows. As long as the bulls manage to stay over this current low of 1399.99, they will be in control of the daily narrative, and that's what it's all about now. We're going to be looking for a new higher low above that level to continue that daily uptrend, and we are currently in the downswing of that cycle, so we'll be scouting for some reversals and taking a look at the action that will indicate when that shift is going to occur, if and when it does. But let's take a look at the action that we saw following the inside bar break. We're going to jump to the hourly time frame first to take a look at that. And here we can see that tightening range here, and it is defined by our 1428 and then our 1422 levels. We did mark out 1423 was an important hourly low, and I believe it was this candlestick or perhaps this guy. And we basically said if we break 1423, that's going to be a resistance or a support that we should be paying attention to. That's going to be the low, and it's the most recent low. And of course, we place more emphasis on recent supports than we do historical reports. The market tends to forget about things that have happened in the recent past. So whatever happened recently, the most recently is going to have the most influence. Now, this gets really cool when we look at the 5 minute, but we'll get into that. So essentially, inside bar, we get a break, we get a flush to the downside, we get a V-shaped recovery on the hourly time frame, and then we hit 1429 resistance again and get rejected from that. So currently looking at a little bit of chop. Let's take a look at the 5 minute and get a better idea what was happening. So here's at 1423, that hourly low. We saw the 5 minute trend getting a tightening range, constantly getting battered down by this EMA 12. We have a zone of support here with a low of 1423. Eventually something buckles. The bulls lose everything. The bottom falls out. The support is gone, and we see the price drop pretty rapidly. So this here is called a descending triangle pattern. It essentially shows you consistent downside pressure with bulls losing the ability to advance at all. Finally, something buckles, bears attack, bulls pull out, and then you see that flush. And the only thing that stopped this was extreme oversold RSI. Our RSI at this point was 9.46 on the 5 minute time frame. On the 15 minute time frame, still very, very low. Where are we here? All the way down to, where is that? 12.68. So very, very extremely oversold levels, and that's when you get the new levels of support being established without any actual physical historical levels, or without those historical levels that were established on different time frames. All you've got is an oversold RSI. So we get that big flush after break a pattern, we get a bounce, we get some sort of resistance here at 1420, and then we get into a nice 5 minute downtrend. And where's my 5 minute chart? Let's go look at that, because it makes a lot of sense when you look at it as a 5 minute trend. There's our bounce. So we hit our EMA 26 resistance, and we consistently set these lower lows, lower highs, eventually bottoming out at 1414. Then we get a trend change, breaking over 1416.95. That shows that the bulls are able to step in a little bit and at least change that 5 minute time frame. Then we jump to the 15. Things start picking up speed a little bit here for the bulls, and we start setting higher highs, higher lows. Now the big key here is going to be watching these lows of these candlesticks. Do we set consistent higher lows? And then eventually we break over 1420 resistance, which is good. You see the volume kick in into overdrive, and we peak out at 1429.96 right after our RSI spent some time grinding there. But look at that, perfect high day resistance. Now what is our actual resistance? It's at high day 1429.92. We broke that by mere pennies before pulling back rapidly. So we are now seeing a downswing in the cycle. 15 minute trend very much in control of the bears. For the bulls to turn this thing around, they need to hold this low over here at 1416 and eventually get a break above 1419.94, which will take them above the 1420 resistance, and hopefully get a little bit more consolidation after this downswing. Very, very likely, however, we will come back up, test another area formerly acting as support to be a new resistance. And if you really wanted to, you could make a case for this being a really weird head and shoulders. I don't like to call those head and shoulders, but you know what? The idea is the same. The psychology is the same. You get a push, you get a bigger push, and then you fail to get any higher. So that shows a lack of strength. And that's what we are watching today. A good lesson in multiple patterns and trend changes. Keep an eye out on these support levels for the daily. I'm not seeing a lot of strength quite yet. 4-hour bulls definitely need to hold the low of 14, 14, 14. That's just cool to say. I'm going to stop right there. Have a good day, guys.